Should the Troy Trojans be on upset alert hosting the Arkansas State Red Wolves? It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Today's episode brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned for later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward, Mazda. Move and be moved. All right, I tried to stay up for as long as I could. I'm not going to make it. I'm passing out during the first half of Marshall and Coastal Carolina. The game won't end until 11. Then we got to do it and then put it all together, and I would be in bed at midnight, and that's not happening. So we'll have a quick halftime update, which you probably already saw, and maybe by the time you're seeing this, well, maybe not. It'll probably be after this, but we'll do a quick Friday morning recap of what happens between Marshall and Coastal Carolina. And, of course, Marshall's got the big ball game next week against JMU. All right, so there's only 3 ball games, although there's 5 this week in the Sun Belt. Only 3 ball games coming up this weekend. Troy's hosting Arkansas State. That's on ESPNU. All right, both teams very hot. Monroe hosting Old Dominion and South Alabama and the Cajuns. We'll get to the latter two a little bit later. But Troy is hosting Arkansas State. Troy is a 7.5-point favorite. Now, Arkansas State has played pretty well the last 3 weeks since they lost to Monroe. All right, they got away with one against, well, actually, maybe they've gotten away with 3, right? They were behind Texas State, and the two teams put on a show. Arkansas State scored 21 in the fourth. Texas State scored 20. No, it wasn't a field goal. It was a missed extra point. So I don't know if Arkansas State got away with one, but Texas State could not convert the point after. But nonetheless, Jaylen Raynor had to go down the field and lead his team to a touchdown in about 53 seconds. So they pulled that one off. Then you had that penalty-filled ball game against South Alabama, which, again, they were behind 14-3, I think, at one point in time. And South Alabama could not put them away either with a field goal late or a touchdown. All right. Major Applewhite, a personal foul penalty, playing a big deal in that ball game. And then last week they were down 21-10 to Georgia Southern, and they come back and win that ball game 34-24. Jaylen Raynor with 4 touchdowns on the game, 1 passing and 3 rushing. Okay. Troy, meanwhile, has, I don't know about turned their season around. It didn't look good when they started and they were down to nickels and they scored 28 second half points, 28 fourth quarter points. All right. They had a chance to beat Clemson. They were leading at half, had a chance to add to it. Penalties prevented them from kicking a field goal or making the field goal anyways. And Clemson comes storming back very quickly, gets a couple of scores, and they go on to Clemson goes on to defeat Troy. All right. Troy then loses to Memphis, good football team. Then they're down 17-0 to Buffalo. They're about to lose their 3rd straight ball game. They're going to start the season 1-3, and their only win is against FCS Nichols. Then they score 21 points in the fourth quarter to defeat Buffalo 21-17, and they haven't lost since. They beat South Alabama in a good ball game, 31-24. They had to come from behind to defeat Texas State. They were down 28-7 in that ball game in the first. They beat Texas State in overtime, 48-14. I'm sorry, 48-41. Monroe turned the ball over a bunch. Not a whole lot of offensive yardage from Troy, but if they give you the ball on short fields, you don't need a lot of yards. 34-17. And then I would tell you the Cajuns handed Troy the ball game as well, up down 14-7, and in less than 2 minutes, it was 21-14, and Troy was in control from that point forward. So you do have a couple of hot teams, right? Troy has won, what did we say there? Troy's won, 5 in a row, and they're bowl eligible, right? Whereas Arkansas State has won 3 in a row and trying to make a dent in that Sun Belt West. Let's check out the statistics, because here's the odd thing, okay? Defensively, overall, Scoring, Arkansas State is actually in the Sun Belt. We'll just do that. Just Sun Belt ball games. They're third in the Sun Belt in scoring defense, right ahead of Troy. Arkansas State gives up 24 points a game. Troy, 25.5 points a game. Offensively, though, Troy scoring 30, almost 38 points a game. Arkansas State only 24. Again, that is in Sun Belt only ball games. All right. Now you go to totals. So now you're doing yardage. All right. Arkansas State is third in the Sun Belt in defense. 380 yards a game allowed. All right. Troy is ninth. They're giving up over 410 yards allowed. All right. Offensively, they're right next to each other. All right. In the 4 games they've each have played in the Sun Belt, Arkansas State is 7th overall, 386, and Troy is 384. So they are right next to each other. This game should be closer than a 7.5 point spread, and yet it's not, because Troy is 6-2 at home, and Arkansas State is 4-4 traveling on the road. And again, a little bit closer look. All right. Says they have, lived dangerously, like I don't want to say junior varsity Troy, but kind of following Troy's footsteps, basically living very dangerously. All right. So Troy should be on the lookout. They could be looking in a mirror, for all that fact of the matter is. Because Arkansas State is going to do what Troy has done, play all 60 minutes. If you don't put them away, they're going to come back and get you. So you could just look at those games. All right. For a while, it looked like they had lost their season. Arkansas State had, after they dropped that ball game against Iowa State, right? They got blown out by Arkansas. They had shots against Iowa State, but then they lost to Kennesaw State and they lost to Monroe, right? Kennesaw State's pretty good. I think Kennesaw State's bowl eligible, right? So Kennesaw State's having a good season, right? They're 6-2. They're first in Conference USA. So that's not an awful loss. Monroe, not such a great loss. That may be Monroe's last win. They beat Arkansas State 28-16. And then they have, 2 wins by 2 points combined. And then they beat Georgia Southern, played really well in the second half, beat them by 10, 34-24. But if I was Troy, I'd be on upset alert, right? Again, you're looking at a mirror at yourself when you see the way Arkansas State plays. They fall behind, they claw their way back into it, and then they got Jaylen Raynor, who, again, seems to play well when the game is on the line at the end of the game. So does Tucker Kilcrease, by the way. So does Troy. So this should be a well of a ball game. It is on ESPN. Of course, it's 8 o'clock. So I am working Sunday, but I'm not working Monday. So we'll catch up on sleep then. We'll get to watch most of the football game, as the case may be, but get ready for that Sunday morning recap. But it should be a good ball game. I think I picked Arkansas. I think I picked Troy to cover, but Arkansas State. I think I picked Arkansas State to cover, but Troy to win, because I didn't like that 7.5. I don't like that 7. That game is really close, I think. All right. So we'll go with that. All right. What's gone wrong for the Cajuns and the Jags? We will do that next, right after I tell you about Mazda. This episode is brought by Mazda's, moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment moved the game forward is, well, we're putting points on the board in this case, Jaylen Raynor. Jaylen Raynor brings Arkansas State back, down 11 at home to Georgia Southern, puts 1 in the end zone by himself, running the football. At the end of the half, making it a 21-17 ball game, and then he scores 2 more rushing touchdowns in the second half as Arkansas State comes from behind to defeat Georgia Southern 34-24. Jaylen Raynor is moving things forward. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. What's going wrong with the Cajuns and South Alabama? All right, so it's two different, well, it's not two different things. Both of them were hurt a lot in the portal, all right, and a graduation, especially the Cajuns' offensive line. I go back to Landon Burton, just haven't replaced him, all right? This team does not run the football nearly as well. At least I don't think they do. Let's see what it says. All right, rushing, offense, Cajuns, 6th in the league. That's never been the case. They've always rushed the football really well, right? Well, maybe not so much. Last year was 5th. Oh, that's conference season. Oh, I want to see what the overall stats are. Oh, no, that's overall stats. So they were 5th last year total. In 23, 5th. In 22, 7th. Oh, no, that's scoring. I want rushing. I'm sorry. Let's do that again. All right. So last year, rushing. Oh, goodness. 8th per game, 167 yards a game. That's even worse than I thought. All right. Rushing 23. They were 3rd. Rushing 22. They were 7th. All right. And where are they now? Let's see here. And this is overall. They're 6th. So kind of right where they've been. But I don't think they've been able to rush the football nearly as well, nearly as consistent as they would like to. And then when they did, they didn't get a win. Like, they didn't run the ball. They could not run the ball versus Rice, right? Then they have a problem running the football in the first game of the season. Let's see what they did. At home, opening up a new stadium. Team stats. They ran for 151 yards. They had 239 yards. They did have a fumble and they threw an interception, but they averaged 5 yards. They averaged 5 yards a pop. I mean, they should have done better than that, but Walker Howard wasn't very good. He was 10 out of 28. 10 out of 28. That's what happened there. All right. Well, Daniel Beal came in at the end. I don't know how much of that was Walker Howard. And they lost some guys in the portal, and the guys who were supposed to be really good just have not been that good for the Cajuns. And then you see, because people have been calling for Dez's head. All right. Again, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think it should happen. Although, if you look at the totality, it is 3 out of 4 not so great seasons. Although the other 2 not so great seasons. They went to a bowl. They lost. He hasn't won a bowl game yet, outside of the first game that he's ever coached for the Cajuns when they beat Marshall in the New Orleans Bowl. Marshall got Levi Lewis is what happened in that ball game. But they've been 500, Sun Belt Conference West champions anyways, hosted the Sun Belt Conference Championship. I think they were going to lose anyways. Marshall was on a roll, and then Chandler Fields got hurt. I think they were down to lunch. They were down to their 3rd-string quarterback, or Daniel Beal at that point in time. So it was not pretty. All right. So they were way down to their end of the bench in that kind of situation. But I don't think he's going anywhere. And then he came out this week, and again, we mentioned it in yesterday's episode, where the pressure is, and kind of a little Robichaux in there saying that I'm trying to get them to be more than just football players, right? Robichaux would tell you, I don't think when you're at the pearly gates, they're going to ask you if you converted 3rd and 5, right? We're not going to find out if he's not going to ask you, did you make the stop on 4th down, right? Robichaux would say, did you work hard? Did you provide for your family? Did you put your hands on your wife inappropriately, right? That's a Tony Robichaux. That's a Robism, right? And it kind of like Dez is not Robichaux, but nobody is. But that's kind of what he said. I'm trying to get these players to play as hard as they can, and they are, right? It has not gone our way. They're working hard, and we're trying to get them to do more than just play football. And so a lot of the people who were anti-Dez saw that, and they're like, maybe we got the guy, all right? Just hasn't gone their way this year, right? Because the quarterback who was supposed to be good might not be. Then he got hurt. The next guy wasn't that good, and Lunch is doing the best that he can. Everyone's doing the best that they can. All right. South Alabama, on the other hand, the outside of the backfield, the talent went out the door. All right. You got Kentrell Bullock. I think PJ Martin's hurt this week. Bishop's okay, but he's not Gio Lopez. And this is what happens when you leave and, you're kind of a mercenary, which no one blames Gio Lopez for taking the cash. No one thought, at least I didn't, maybe some people did, that Carolina was going to be this bad. All right. Now, he may be leaving. Who knows? We'll see if Gio comes back. I don't know if that's a possibility. Well, if Belichick does leave Carolina. And then what do we say? What Craig Stevenson tell us? Top 6 corners for the Cajuns. Top 6, all left. Ricky Fletcher could be playing for a national championship, playing for Ole Miss. So not only did he probably get a bag, he's on a top 10 team in the nation. So they lost a lot of players. And I think what we saw with Major Applewhite, he's not wrong. They have just, instead of finding ways to win, South Alabama has found ways to lose. All right. They didn't, they got ahead of Tulane and then fell behind. They lost by 2 because they didn't convert a 2-point conversion. Wasn't the best of all plays, but okay. Give credit to the Tulane defense. All right. Held their own against Auburn. All right. But then they got, I'll be honest with you, embarrassed against Coastal Carolina because at that point in time, Coastal Carolina hadn't shown that. All right. Coastal Carolina was bad up until that point, and South Alabama got blitzkrieg. All right. North Texas is pretty good. We'll get to them here in a minute. And they played well against Troy. Had a chance to win that ball game and didn't. And then really should have beaten Arkansas State. That's the game that got away with them. Even if you tie the game up against Tulane, you still got to go to overtime, right? It's not like you scored a touchdown and could go for 2 to win it. You had to go for 2 just to tie it. And so they could have beaten Troy, should have beaten Arkansas State. You can find a couple more wins there, but that may be about it. You weren't going to beat Auburn. You held your own against them, but it wasn't going to happen. You weren't going to beat them. You weren't going to beat North Texas. And you weren't going to beat Coastal, right? I mean, you were going to lose to Auburn, lose to Coastal, lose to North Texas. Could have beaten Troy, should have beaten Arkansas State. All right. So maybe 2 more wins in there. So 2 more wins would look a lot better, right? 4-4 would look a lot better than 2-6. So we'll see what happens in this ball game. Taking South Alabama only because they're at home. And again, the loser is eliminated from bowl contention. So there's a lot on the line for a pair of teams that are 2-6, as it turns out. All right, let's take a time out. People put stuff out there and you kind of buy it, and then you look into it and you're like, wait a second, let's check into that. So I did. All right, we'll talk about the American and why not JMU. All right. A couple of teams may be an issue, but why not JMU in the college football playoff if we're talking about the American? We'll do that next after I tell you about DoorDash and FanDuel. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this weekend's MVP. Who delivered? Powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash streaks, saving more every time you ordered. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. It was Southern Miss's Braylon Braxton. He was outstanding last week against ULM. Braylon was 18 out of 23 for 248 yards and 4 touchdowns, all in the air. And just like Braylon Braxton delivered for Southern Miss, DoorDash delivers on your Saturdays. With DoorDash streaks, you save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. And FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score to the next fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. Keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. All right, so if you've been following the timeline, I presume if I find it annoying but funny, you guys probably do as well. So every time something comes up on the interception on how Southern Miss ranks, and they're very good at it, I get called out on it because I say they were lucky against App State, as A.J. Swan just kept on throwing the ball to the opposition. Okay. And so the same people call him, well, it's just he's lucky playing against these awful quarterbacks. So then you know what I did? I looked. You know what Southern Miss quarterbacks have been playing? They've been playing. They played against 2 third-string quarterbacks. Played against an FCS quarterback. These are their wins, by the way. We're not talking La Tech or Mississippi State. All right. They played against 2 FCS quarterbacks. I'm sorry, 2 third-string quarterbacks. An FCS quarterback. That's 3. They played against J.C. French. Okay, not bad, but not great. The best quarterback they maybe played against was Caden Creel out of Jack State, who, by the way, hasn't lost since they lost to Southern Miss. So that's pretty good. All right. And then there was one more. A.J. Swan was playing in his 3rd game since 2023. So you do a little deep dive. Not exactly playing against Heisman Trophy candidates. All right. Doesn't shake away from Southern Miss's really good defense, but you're not exactly playing against the Ohio State quarterback or the Ole Miss quarterback. All right. Or even the the A&M quarterback. Okay. So now we hear about the American. All right. Let's go through this. All right. Because the American, if you want to know, because they have some teams that are pretty good. All right. Navy is 7-0, 5-0 in the conference, playing the easiest schedule in the nation, according to ESPN. They are 136th out of 136 in terms of level of difficulty. Now they've beaten everybody. The only players can only play where they're playing, but they haven't beaten anybody. And you want to hear Navy's schedule coming up: at North Texas, at Notre Dame, hosting South Florida, at Memphis, and the Army-Navy game. They're 7-0. They got a shot at finishing 7-5. All right. So we don't have to worry about that. Okay. Next, Tulane. Tulane is 6-1. Their best win is Northwestern. We talked about it. They eked past South Alabama. That can't be great. All right. They did beat Duke and their former quarterback. All right. They got hammered by Ole Miss. They beat Tulsa, East Carolina, and they beat Army. Now, they're actually playing UTSA tonight, and they are at Memphis next week. So that's going to have huge ramifications. And the idea for JMU is that if it can work out this way, whoever wins that first ball game, all right, loses the second ball game, because both Memphis and Tulane have 1 loss each. And if they both end up with 2 losses, they could get knocked out. All right. So there is Tulane. All right. Again, no great wins. Northwestern, okay, but no great wins, but no great losses either. All right. Losing to Ole Miss. I mean, they got hammered by Ole Miss, but that's not embarrassing. We're going to get to the embarrassing here right now. All right. Memphis has lost 1 ball game. They have a nice 34-31 win at home against South Florida. That's a nice win. All right. Solid win. At the same time, let's not make out South Florida to be Ohio State, A&M, or Indiana. They're not. All right. But Memphis has maybe the worst loss of the season, and that's UAB. That's a bad loss. That's the Alex Mortensen, son of the late, great Chris Mortensen, taking over for Trent Dilfer, and in his first coaching job, winning that, beating Memphis in what is a huge upset, right? Just a huge, huge upset. So UAB is not very good. And that to me, and I'm biased, admittedly, the UAB loss is much worse than beating South Florida at home. Like, those are not even. Those two things are not the same. Beating South Florida at home is nice. Losing to UAB is much worse, as far as I'm concerned. All right. And then you have North Texas. I think that's the last one. Well, we didn't get to South Florida, but South Florida already has 2 losses. Then you get to North Texas, and they're 7-1, and they got destroyed by South Florida at home, 63-36. They got absolutely destroyed, and they don't have a nice win. Washington State is 500. All right, they did destroy Washington State 59-10, but they don't have a nice win. All right, is UTSA a nice win? They beat UTSA pretty good. They got Navy. North Texas has Navy, UAB, Rice, and Temple. That's one easy schedule. Let's be honest. That's, well, outside of Navy, but that's at home. All right, at UAB, at Rice, and Temple. Those are, I think that's going to be an easy. Let's check it out here. Easy remaining game there for them. Let's see where Rice is, right? Rice 4-4, 1-3 in the conference. UTSA is 3-4, 1-2 in the conference. Charlotte may be the worst FBS team in America. All right. Tulsa had that big win over Oklahoma State. Is that their last win? All right. So why not the American? And then you kind of have South Florida lurking. The thing is, you have Temple's 3-1 in the conference. Temple's 5-3, so they're not awful. They're 3-1 in the conference. East Carolina is 2-1 in the conference. So, if you get, say, Memphis beats Tulane, and Navy's got to lose, one or more. Again, we went through the headaches. There's no divisions over there. Much easier to figure out the divisions, in the Sun Belt. But who's going to play in that? In that championship game, right? You have to figure that one out. And somehow, I guess. Well, hold on. That's the thing, right? If is Memphis and Tulane, are they? Well, that's the thing. So Memphis could be eliminated because they have one loss in the conference. Tulane doesn't. Tulane will drop to 3-1 if they lose to Memphis. Whereas if Tulane beats Memphis, Memphis is kind of eliminated. All right. And here's the thing about JMU. There's no dancing around this. They don't have a big win either. All right. Their big opportunity for the win was Louisville. That's it. Now, they don't have a bad loss either, though. There's no bad loss. But because the Sun Belt isn't great this year, a win at home over a solid Cajuns team is not there, right? It appeared that ODU was going to be that game, but ODU tripped on their way to playing JMU and lost to Marshall. All right. So JMU doesn't have a great win. I don't think they're going to get a great win, right? Win over Marshall would be nice. That's nice in the Sun Belt, but I don't think they're going to be ranked top 25 because they beat Marshall. Maybe. You need one of those splash wins, and that was the Louisville game for JMU. So there's got to be a lot of rooting for teams to have more than one loss or 2 losses. Got to have 2 losses in the American, and that is very feasible. All right, that's very feasible going in there, right? Because again, if Memphis beats Tulane, then they're tied, right? They still need Navy to lose a couple of times, which again, I'm not, Navy only has a couple more conference games left because they only got 3 conference games left. They got that Notre Dame and Army. So somehow, think about that. They could lose to Notre Dame and Army. Army's in the conference, actually, aren't they? So they couldn't lose. So they have 4 conference games left. Is that what I got? They're at North Texas, South Florida, Memphis, Army. They have 4 conference games left, plus Notre Dame. Again, they may not win any of those. So I'm not sure we have to worry about Navy. Again, if it's Memphis and Tulane, you kind of want Memphis to win the first time and then Tulane to knock off Memphis the second time if they play. But then, no, see, that's not going to work either because Tulane still only got, Tulane would have 2 losses at that point in time. Tulane would have 2 losses, only 1 in this conference. All right. And then you have South Florida lurking. If somehow they get in there, they're probably, I still can't imagine that an American with 2 losses gets in over JMU. That would be outrageous. All right. Then you'd have some problems. Then Keith Gill would have some problems. All right. But he can't do anything about the rankings. But if a 2-loss American team gets in over a JMU, I don't want to hear it. That's not great. Not great, Bob. All right. We'll do a Friday morning recap of this Marshall Coastal Carolina ball game. We'll be around Saturday night to watch the games, and we'll have a full recap on Monday. And you know what else happened on Monday? College basketball's kicking off. Take 2. College basketball's tipping off. It is the MAC Sunbelt Showdown. So that's a big one, all coming up on a Monday, and I think they're all at the MAC. Sunbelt is at the MAC. So I'm pretty sure everyone's playing. So that should be a lot of fun. We'll have lots to talk about next week. Haven't done anything on basketball. We've been consumed with football, but we'll certainly be watching some of it on Monday. That's for sure. I'm off Monday and Tuesday, so we'll have some fun with that. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. Have a happy Halloween. Make it a safe one. All right. Get your candy. Get back in. Enjoy the football this week. Let your kids eat the candy. All right. Let the kids have the candy. Brush their teeth, but let the kids have the candy. Let them be kids. All right. We'll be back again on Monday. And again, we've had just another almost record-setting month here in October. Really do appreciate it. Thanks for all the support. Even the friendly banter going back and forth. I think we've kept it mostly civil. All right. It's tough to, have that sarcastic font on Twitter. But if people want to call me out, they're fine to do that. I will have no problem calling people out as well. All right. Thanks again for tuning in. You've been watching a Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you again on Monday.